Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, it's great to have you here in our last plenary session before our closing session. And we know that we have to continue our journey from here to New York, the SDG Summit, the Summit of the Future, and after that, of course, again, in 2 years' time, the Food System Summits +4. It's great to have you in the room. And of course, we have to set the frame. And the setting of the frame will be done by our beloved and beautiful Director General, Maria Elena Semedo. Maria Elena Semedo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ambassador Hogavin, ICC Chair. Good morning, good afternoon to all. Excellencies, ministers, ambassadors, representatives, colleagues, friends, dear participants. At the halfway point of the 2030 Agenda, most of the Sustainable Development Goals are off track. Some are regressing. The lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, environmental crisis, rising cost of living, and conflicts are hampering efforts to deliver prosperity, equity, and health for planet and people. We see this strongly in agri-food systems. In 2022, between 735 and 783 million people faced hunger. 2.4 billion people were moderately or severely food insecure. In 2021, more than 3.1 billion people could not afford a healthy diet, and millions of children under 5 suffer from malnutrition. And this is where we stand. It cannot be where to stay. We must use the outcomes of this stock-taking moment to stride into a world of safe food, healthy diets, and no malnutrition of any kind, leaving no one behind. A world in which food systems help to solve climate change and biodiversity loss, and improve people's health and livelihoods. This is possible, and we have seen during the last 2 days. Friends, in the 2021 Food Systems Summit created a new narrative for food that ties together progress across economic, social, environment, health, and cultural sectors. The summit reaffirmed the power of sustainable, equitable, resilient, and healthy agri-food system to get the SDGs back on track. 2 years later, this plenary marks the last session, as it has been said, of the first stock-taking moment. This moment was successful. Whether it will be impactful depends on how we carry forward the outcomes of this moment. In less than 2 months, world leaders will gather at the SDG Summit. There, they will pledge to accelerate the SDGs through concrete national commitments, high-impact action, and revitalized collaboration. Transforming agri-food system must play a central role in commitments. Following that, we have the Climate Ambition Summit at COP20 and COP28. At COP28, decision must link national food system pathways with the revision of national determined contribution for 2025 and with national adaptation plans. Looking further forward, we have Nutrition for Growth in Paris, the Finance for Development Conference, and the 2024 Summit of the Future. Agri-food system transformation must play a prominent role in all these events and other processes, such as Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and why they should be centered in all of those processes. Because sustainable and resilient agri-food system can help end hunger, reduce poverty, improve livelihoods, slow and adapt to climate change, reverse biodiversity, reduce pollution, and so much more. To deliver these results, inclusiveness is key. We must move from vision to action, integrating especially women, youth, and indigenous people, harnessing science, technology, and innovation. And we need political will and leadership from governments, commitment from all organizations and actors involved in food system, and critical change to the food system financing structure. We need everybody on board, which will mean expanding fora such as this one to all constituencies. Colleagues, friends, dear participants, today we'll hear perspective from many of those who will need to get the job done. I look forward to hearing from facilitators of various processes on how they will integrate sustainable food system consideration in other discussion, action-oriented roadmaps and frameworks. I hope this afternoon will inspire all of us to work together, harder and at scale, and drive the emergence of more leaders who champion transformed food system in all aspects of governance, finance, and development frameworks. And I thank you.
Thank you, Maria Elena, for this setting of the scene for this afternoon. And we are coming to the end of 3 energetic days of the World Food System Summit +2. And it were exciting days. Leaders have shown their energy, their political will, their political commitment to transform our food systems. But it is about stock taking. What did we achieve the last 2 years? And what are we going to achieve or have achieved these 3 days? Because everything will come with a price, certainly when a Dutchman is speaking. At the opening of this summit +2, the Secretary General clearly stated, we need bold action. But are we bold enough? Do we dare to take that bold action? We have created the momentum, again. But let's be honest to ourselves as well. We heard many statements. We have many stories, many initiatives. So, on the ground, it is happening. But is it happening fast enough? We clearly heard, again, our challenges. And we also clearly heard that we know what we have to do, or at least we think that we know what we have to do. And it's great that we have now 126 governments with a national pathway for transforming their food systems. But also, let's be honest, we should not slap each other too much on the shoulder for success. Because 27 years ago, in the same room, we had the first World Food Summit in 1996. And there we discussed how to tackle the huge problem of 800 million people living in hunger. Now, 27 years later, we're still confronted with almost 800 million people in hunger. One thing is clear, we have to do much more. And the uncomfortable truth is as well, it was said by Maria-Elena, but also by the Secretary General, we are off track with the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Way off track. Unless we have that massive change, we know that we are not going to achieve them in the last 6.5, 7 years. And the SDGs clearly stated that broken food systems are not inevitable. They are the result of choices we made. He stated that there's more than enough food in the world to feed everybody, also those 800 million people. There's more than enough money to fund our traditional agriculture, our agroecology, our sustainable agriculture, and all forms of agriculture. There's enough funding to transform our food systems. And there is enough agricultural innovations. But how do we access them? Because what I heard the last couple of days is that many countries cannot access those innovations, cannot access the needed funding. This underlines that we not have to take bold action, we have to take triple bold action. And of course, we have to use our agents for change. And many have said that are the women, that are the indigenous people, that are the farmers, and certainly that is our youth. They are the next generation. But foremost, we need, of course, massive investments in our transformation of our food systems. And over there, and I was counting the number of times it was used, those words. The most used words were investments and private sector. And we need to unlock that potential we have already there. And we also need, as we have seen for these 3 days, the convening role of the United Nations. And let's not forget that the United Nations are we. Of course we have the Secretary General. Of course we have Amina Mohamed, Deputy Secretary General. But we are the United Nations. And we cannot blame anybody else than ourselves if we don't achieve what we need to achieve. But to unlock the financial potential, we need the international financial institutions, and especially the World Bank and IFAD. And we have to pressure them to use their key to unlock the potential, not at the global level, but at the country level. Because the work has to be done at the country level. And again, we can look to the principles. But it's clear, you are sitting in the boards. So you can make sure that they obey the key to unlock. Let's transform our food systems. We are now going to hear from our leaders again in our road and our journey to New York, to the SDG Summit, the Summit of the Future, and the Food System Summit 4 years later. And may I ask to come to the floor for the first panel. And I do apologize already if I pronounce your name wrongly. But I'm used to it, also my name is always pronounced wrongly. That's why they call me always Hans. May I ask the Minister, Abdullah bin Abdulaziz bin Turki Al-Zubaye, to the stage. He's the Minister for Municipality of Qatar. Very much welcome, and can you please take your seat? May I also ask Janusz Wojciechowski to come to the floor. He is the EU Commissioner for Agriculture, a crucial position within the European Union. May I ask Mahinda Amaravera, Minister of Agriculture of Sri Lanka, to the podium. And last but not least, Minister Fred Mitchell, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Public Services of the Bahamas. And we hope to hear from you, if you have been present these days, what do you take away from here to New York? We know that our food crisis is the biggest crisis ever we have seen. And we know how much it is related to the climate change crisis. But what do we take from here as actions and a message toward New York? May I give you the floor first?
We use the podium or we just...
No, you use the microphone here, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the organizers for this important event. And from our perspective in the state of Qatar, we have worked in the last few years a lot on our food security reinforcement. And we were able to mitigate a lot of challenges, especially geopolitical challenges, international crisis in relation to the food. So the key takeaway from here to New York is that we need always to keep the food accessible and flowing, even during crisis time, even during difficult time, even during challenging time, because this is a human need, a human necessity, a human right, which we need all to work collectively together to ensure this accessibility is moving and flowing. The second takeaway is that sustainability. We need to think of food system sustainability, you know. So in our region, we have scarcity of water. We have difficult climate. We have difficult climate situation. So we need to invest a lot in technology. We need to invest a lot of technology to save water. So what we have done in Qatar, we have invested a lot in the last 10 years in the water recycle. We recycle 98% of our water in Qatar, and 60% of this recycled water is used on the agriculture. So this is one notable achievement in the state of Qatar, progressing towards being more sustainable even in harsh climate. On the side of consumption, you know, we need to rationalize the consumption. We need to ensure that we have high quality of food, very safe, and the balance and the nutrition. So we know the issue of obesity. We know the issues of you know, the imbalance and malnutrition. So we need also to change in the consumption habit to reduce the food loss at all stage of food chain, right from the production to the table. So this is from our perspective where we see that the key takeaway which can be taken to the New York.
Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you very much for clearly linking important issues with our food systems. That's water, but also food loss and waste. And we know that we are losing 1/3 of our food production every year. So think what we can do if we can use that food for the 800 million people in hunger. Thank you so much for that takeaway. Janus, You're not only speaking on behalf of the Commission, but you have 27 member states behind you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, I would like to commend the Secretary. Sorry. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to commend the Secretary General of the UN Food System Coordination Hub, the Rome-based UN agencies, and our special host, Italy, for organizing an excellent stocking-taking event. For the past 3 days, we have been able to review together progress on the commitments to action and identify obstacles to more effective implementation of food systems transformation. Challenges facing our societies are still huge in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic and the multiple crises regarding climate change, biodiversity, loss and pollution to meet food security for all. But now, the last time, we have a huge challenge for our food system, which is the Russian unprovoked, unjustified illegal aggression against Ukraine. The termination of the Black Sea Grain Initiative by Russia on 17th of July, despite the tremendous effort of UN and Turkey, is a striking and painful reminder to what Russia is doing to weaponize food, endangering food security for millions of people most vulnerable. This new threat to global food security has strengthened the European Union resolve to take forward the European Green Deal for the sake of accelerating progress towards sustainable development goals. Since the summit, the European Union and its member states have been dedicated to the development of the global food system transformation agenda. Most recently, the European Union submitted its pathway to sustainable food systems transformation, which describes the relationships between the European Union's multiple domestic policy aims for its food system. It also underlines the European Union commitment to its international obligations, international cooperations, and trade. Bilaterally, the European Union has also been funding food system assessments in around 50 partner countries, giving support to institutional structures and pathway implementation to assist those countries in their food systems transformation. Through its international partnership, the European Union supports fully partner countries in improving the business and investments environment and promoting trade and trade facilitation. Within the European Green Deal agenda, the Farm to Fork and the biodiversity strategies are the two central elements for the transformation of EU food system to make them sustainable and resilient. These two strategies are designed to be mutually reinforcing, bringing together and food chain actors and consumers to jointly engage to meet the SDGs. Integral to these strategies, the new Common Agriculture Policy has been designed to guide and support European farmers, including small farmers, to improve their environmental and climate performance. Through our commitments, the European Union is putting its agriculture sector ahead in contributing to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. First, our reforms will contribute to the social dimension of sustainability and help substantively to ending poverty. For millions of citizens today across the globe, agriculture is still the most significant means of income. This is not to be taken for granted. Agriculture needs to remain a key driver of economic growth because it relies on and supports a vibrant population living in rural areas. Let us keep this in mind in the run-up to the SDG summit and the summit of the future. Obviously, the agri-food sector is doing the essential part of meeting SDG 2 towards zero hunger. and great efforts are being made to reduce food loss and waste, thus contributing to achieving SDG 12. Food systems provide food to a growing world population with growing challenges, notably from the depletion of healthy natural resources, from soil to water. Sustainable agriculture practices in a whole system approach need to be exponentially used worldwide. There is no other way. We need to do it in a collaborative way for our future generations. While meeting SDG 2, food system will have to meet our targets to mitigate, cope, and adjust to environmental challenges on water quality and management, climate action, and biodiversity loss and land degradation. As you can see, distinguished delegates, the contributions of the food system are wide-ranging and interconnected. Looking forward, in terms of accelerating the achievement of these sustainable development goals and the links between this stocktake and the SDG summit, the main focus of this transition towards sustainable food systems lies in the following priority areas. The transition is necessary step towards achieving climate neutrality and the maintenance of biodiversity and protection of forests. The transition will also build the resilience of the food system and works towards strengthening natural resources, most immediately water, linked to the global gains of food security, food system transformation, improve social protection, creating new and decent job opportunities, and strengthening investment in development priorities, especially investing peace. Given the strong relation between food system transformation, climate change, and nutrition, the food system agenda has strong link to the forthcoming COP28 in December this year, COP16 next year, and the Nutrition Growth Summit scheduled to be held in France in 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Janus. And thank you for reminding us that it's all about partnership. Partnership to achieve more than only sustainable food systems, but you made the link with biodiversity, with deforestation and sustainable forest management. And last but not least, of course, the so important social dimension of our food systems. With that, we go to our next minister. And may I give the floor to Mahinda Amaravera, Minister of Agriculture of Sri Lanka.
Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me express my sincere gratitude to the United Nations and FAO for inviting me to participate in this important conference. During the 2021 Food Systems Summit, we presented our vision and commitments to help countries to transform their food systems in a more sustainable manner and contributed for the achievement of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. At the same time, the summit will be an important exercise to identify the ongoing obstacles and challenges to lay the groundwork for a strong follow-up after the SDG summit and the 2025 stock in trade movement. 3 food system pathway related to Sri Lanka and gaps to develop the national program to transform the food systems into sustainable, resilient, and inclusive systems by 2030 were identified. The farming community of Sri Lanka mainly faces issues related to climate change, unavailability of agricultural inputs, harvesting, and post-harvest operations. After controlling the COVID-19 pandemic situation, Sri Lanka has faced an acute economic problem. The situation is still not fully resolved. Fisheries and the agricultural community have been greatly affected. Despite all these issues, the government of Sri Lanka is engaging in a systematic efforts to transform the food systems. With the current financial crisis of the country, there was a major issue with the availability of fertilizer. With the support from donor agencies through FAO, the issues for the smallholder farmers was partially addressed. We managed to secure fertilizer for all crops, including the plantation sector, through the support of the World Bank and ADB. United Nations FAO office in Colombo supports in monitoring and working in this regard, and they have been working with constant focus and interaction since the beginning of the food system dialogue, studying the food flow of major food commodities in 2022. To assess the food security status of the country, FAO with WFP did do crop and food security assessment mission in 2022-2023. Regional projects on urban agriculture and assessment of fish loss and waste are ongoing. With the easing of the fertilizer ban and slight improvement in the economy, food system transformation is gradually improving now. I am happy to see the progress of the country in transforming the food system to suit the present needs. My compliments for a successful program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you highlighted clearly the interdependencies we have in our global food system. The need for keep trade flows open to avoid trade barriers. I think that's so important, also the role fertilizers play in also the sustainability of our farming systems. Now I turn the floor to Fred Mitchell, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Services of the Bahamas, and I would say the Bahamas is a great ocean state. You have the floor.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. I want to start first by apologizing because the Prime Minister himself wanted to be here, given the policy importance which we have or believe in with regard to agriculture now. I'll come to that a bit later. And also, the Minister himself, the Agriculture Minister, would have been here, but parliamentary business has caused him not to be here. And so the default position is the Foreign Minister. And I'm a lawyer by profession, so I'm very happy that you farmers have agreed to allow me to come to this forum today. If you came to the Bahamas in the early 1970s, we were self-sufficient in milk production, in eggs, in chicken, in pork. Today, we're not self-sufficient in any of those things. Things went in reverse. And it went in reverse because a policy decision was made during the 90s, I believe, when the fashion was market forces. And the simple argument was put by the then administration that it was cheaper for us to just provide services and import food because you could get food from the Americans much cheaper than you can produce it in the Bahamas. So even if you tried applying tariffs, it was still cheaper to import the food. So agriculture was largely abandoned. There was a cap put on the subsidies to agriculture, and we are where we are today, where we're trying to climb back. The government, our government, made a decision after 9/11 that food security was important, and we are now investing in that climb back. We passed a special act and created the Bahamas Agricultural Marine Science Institute, which is responsible for public education and education for farmers, and also trying to improve the stock both in plants and in animals. And it's been slow progress, but one of the important decisions I think we made is first the ambassadors which we provided to this to FAO, Godfrey Eneas I remember in particular, but Today, we have Winston Pinnock, who comes from the private sector and brings with him a knowledge of how food distribution works, and has also been outstanding in our view in trying to understand the international bureaucracy which goes behind the public policy making. To me, that seems to me most important as we move forward, because the Bahamas is a small state, and we're part of also CARICOM as well. We have a responsibility to our people to ensure that there's food security, and part of that comes with understanding how the international arena works in these matters. The main takeaway then, I would say, for us is that from this conference, and we look forward to the conference at the UN next year, is that we should keep at it, because it's important for us to be at the table. And also to make the case, because it's even been raised in the meetings that we've had here, that there needs to be the support of the international financial institutions, which you said in your opening remarks. And the international financial institutions have put countries in the Caribbean at a disadvantage because of this GDP per capita. And when you use that as a measure, you exclude countries like the Bahamas from getting the necessary assistance from these international financial organizations. So we always try to make the case that there is a need for change in this arena. So thank you again for inviting us to be here. We're going to stay the course on this. We've just announced a national breakfast program for all primary school children across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We think that's important, and having heard the first session here, it looks like we are in sync with the rest of the world on this issue. Thanks again. I would only say, a quip on the side, that had my ancestors not been ripped from the continent of Africa so many years ago and brought to the Caribbean, you may have also had a problem not pronouncing my name as well. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that I am part of the CARICOM region, and I pay homage, of course, to my African brothers and sisters who are in this audience today. Thank you and blessings.
Thank you very much, Minister, also for being a lawyer and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Because if we really want to transform our food systems, it's not something only for ministers of agriculture. It's of the whole cabinet of ministers. Because only if they work jointly together, we can get things done. And certainly we need lawyers to make sure that we obey the laws. But thank you so much also for clearly stating that's not only about farming, but also about the whole value chain. From the production to processing to export to the consumer. I think that's part of the transformation we need. Thank you so much, and give a big applause to our leaders for their takeaway messages. Thank you very much. Now we will have our next panel. And I'm getting my last instructions, you saw. And I do now something which probably I will be fired for, because I do something off the script. But at the opening we stated, transforming our food systems means feeding our world and feeding our future. I'm a little bit older, I'm a gray hair. But the future is for the youth. And that's why I give the floor as an intermezzo to the youth. And I don't see the youth as a stakeholder. I see the youth as a partner not only making statements in conferences like this, but also as a partner who should sit around the table when we take our decisions for our future. I give the floor now to Lana Wijtgenant. She will speak on behalf of the youth. Lana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. My name is Lana Weigenant. I was one of the 5 youth vice chairs for the UN Food Systems Summit in 2021, and I am now working with ProVeg International, engaging from New York City. The Sustainable Development Goals continue to be a vital global agenda for creating a better and more sustainable future. And one notable but often underestimated and underrepresented force driving accountability, urgency, and ambition on the SDGs is us, the global youth. The engagement and activism of young people have been instrumental in pushing for progress and holding governments and institutions accountable for their commitments. Youth are leveraging advocacy, policy, technology, social media, and grassroots movements to meet the SDGs, and we lead efforts to halt climate change and biodiversity loss by adopting plant-based diets, embracing alternative proteins, and guiding innovation for future-proof food systems. However, despite the significant efforts by young people, progress towards achieving the SDGs remains still incredibly off track. Political conflicts, economic disparities, the COVID-19 pandemic, and unfulfilled promises from governments and institutions have hindered the world's ability to address the global goals effectively. To accelerate progress and overcome these hurdles, it is essential to strengthen partnerships between governments and key stakeholders, including youth and civil society. Governments should partner with youth's willingness to make big changes, including by supporting and investing in, rather than obstructing or opposing youth-led efforts to mitigate the climate crisis, by embracing more plant-based diets and cultivated and fermented alternative proteins. Youth involvement with our national governments for achieving food systems transformation and meeting the SDGs must be increased, not only in this forum, but in those to come, including the SDG Summit in September. Let us take stock. Youth has been mentioned in numerous sessions these past 3 days, yet indicated in the UNFSS+2 Secretary General report, the engagement with youth is still limited. Though it is noted that certain countries are engaging youth incorporated in their policies. We need a structured way for engagement to ensure that young people and national governments globally are able to connect and collaborate effectively in the design and implementation of the national pathways, to ensure they are able to serve our stakeholders, including youth, indigenous, farmers, producers, and to celebrate countries who have successfully engaged with youth. In our Youth Side event just earlier today, together with various youth bodies and organizations engaged in food systems, we announced the ideation of a youth coalition to the UNFSS to fill the vital need for a space where each country can come to and be connected with youth experts for this partnership, co-creation, and implementation of food systems and SDGs from each of your own countries. And so I call on you today to give your support by filling this vital need with the Youth Coalition. And do stop by our booth just in the exhibition hall and talk to us more and partner with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lana. Thank you very much, Lana, as a new partner in our endeavor. Now we turn to the stakeholders. And of course, we are with the UN, and we have many governments represented here. But we know now, and we've learned our lesson, nothing will change if we don't work with our stakeholders, if we don't work with the indigenous people, if we don't work with civil society, and certainly if we don't work with the private sector. So may I ask to come to the floor, and certainly, of course, also our farmers, because let's not forget our food systems will start and are starting with the farmers. So may I ask Arnold Puech-Dalizak, President of the World Farmers Organization, Vita Babanse, Indigenous People Organization, and Michael Keller, the International Federation for Agri-Food Companies, to the podium. And of course, our chair of the scientific committee. Because in many meetings, government meetings, we always say everything we do has to be done science-based, evidence and science-based. Without that science, we cannot work. But without science, we cannot have our innovations. So it's a great pleasure to have with us the chairperson of the Scientific Advisory Committee of the Summit, Madam Dr. Sakuntala Tilstedt. And I start with you because I saw you also chairing several events the last 3 days. So it must be easy for you to summarize some of your takeaways. Madam.
Thank you. The Scientific Advisory Committee to the Food Systems Coordination Hub is composed of 29 eminent scientists from across the world, mandated to broker science and evidence, dedicated to addressing systemic challenges that exist in food systems transformation pathways. Yesterday, we held a leadership dialogue, science, technology, and innovation roundtable. And I now present to you the 3 key takeaway messages paving the actions leading towards COP28 later this year, the Summit of the Future in 2024, and to UNFSS+2 2025, and of course, to reaching the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. First message. Science, technology, and innovation are powerful accelerators of agri-food systems transformation, consolidating multidisciplinary sciences to integrated, coherent, and actionable national pathways for multiple actors, from policymakers to farmers and youth, leaving no one behind. Second, science, technology, and innovation approaches must bridge nature-positive solutions, traditional and indigenous knowledge with modern innovations such as data, bioinformatics, genomics, and AI in responding to the democratization of science for all. And thirdly, science, technology, and innovation approaches must build and strengthen past and existing work while exploring new avenues of food systems transformation that are inclusive, equitable, and just. The Scientific Advisory Committee with continuing dialogues with national conveners, partners, and stakeholders, will help to advance and strengthen the national pathways now and towards 2030. By recognizing the potential of science, technology, and innovation, we can effectively shape coherent, evidence-based, and holistic food systems narratives that respond to the challenges and articulate these narratives in the upcoming summits and fora. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tilstedt. And as I said, we cannot do anything without science. And you are the basis also for innovations. But many times, the last 3 days, I heard, how can we access that science and those innovations? What would be your most strong message for that?
Well, we do already have some innovations. I would say many that are based on both traditional knowledge and approaches that we have from the past, but also from the future. What I do think we need to do is to bridge between both and take the best from both, combine them, and make sure that they respond to the needs of the different actors, starting with communities and starting with small-scale farmers and fishers.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that message. Now I turn to the farmers. And Arnold Dalizak is representing more than 500 million farmers. Smallholders, big farms, all kinds of farming. The question would be, of course, is your takeaway to New York? But also, how can we support the farmers to start transforming our food systems? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I will speak French like that. You will be able to evaluate the high quality of the translation system that we have today. Vos Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un grand plaisir pour moi d'être avec vous. L'agriculteur que je suis en Normandie est heureux aujourd'hui de porter la voix des agriculteurs. Et je suis très reconnaissant pour l'importance que vous attachez à placer les agriculteurs au centre de la conversation sur les systèmes alimentaires. Comme le disait l'un des prédécesseurs de Janusz Wojciechowski, on ne fera rien sans les agriculteurs. Tout ce que l'on demande aux agriculteurs, c'est eux qui vont le faire. Voilà, donc soyons conscients que nos demandes doivent être possibles pour que les agriculteurs puissent les mettre en place. Les systèmes alimentaires sont complexes et interdépendants avec de nombreux autres systèmes. L'énergie, la finance, le transport comme la distribution. Le système alimentaire comprend un certain nombre de systèmes, transformation, distribution, consommation. Mais aucun de ces systèmes ne pourrait exister sans le système agricole. Le système agricole est le seul qui garantit que la nourriture atteint la table des consommateurs. Sans agriculture, en effet, le monde de 8 milliards d'habitants ne peut pas survivre. Ainsi, il y a un élément qui caractérise les systèmes agricoles, ce sont les personnes, les familles et les communautés qui sont derrière la production alimentaire. Si nous nous réunissons dans ces forums de haut niveau pour converser, mais que nous ne gardons pas un œil sur les agriculteurs, nous échouerons. L'agenda des ODD ne doit laisser personne de côté. Nous ne pouvons manquer d'attirer notre attention sur la santé, les besoins, les défis de nos concitoyens. Nos attentes en tant qu'agriculteurs sont que ce concept soit réitéré lors du sommet des ODD à New York en septembre prochain. Mais que signifie placer l'homme, donc l'agriculteur, au centre des systèmes alimentaires? Cela signifie être à l'écoute des besoins d'innovation des agriculteurs avant de démarrer un nouveau projet de recherche. Cela signifie être à l'écoute des agriculteurs avant de mettre en place des programmes de cofinancement. Cela signifie co-créer des cadres politiques avec les organisations paysannes au niveau national ou régional. Cela signifie concevoir les dispositifs financiers en fonction des cycles agricoles locaux. Cela signifie organiser la formation, le renforcement des capacités, les services de vulgarisation et de conseil avec les producteurs et pour les producteurs. Cela signifie investir dans l'innovation et la technologie, dans une véritable agriculture, au lieu d'investir dans une production alimentaire alternative de laboratoire. Nous sommes très reconnaissants de l'espace qui a été accordé aux agriculteurs depuis le début du processus du sommet sur les systèmes alimentaires et nous nous réjouissons de continuer dans cette modalité tout au long des processus politiques mondiaux, sommet des ODD, COP28, G7, G20, sommet des avenirs. Et nous nous engageons à tirer parti de nos connaissances, des besoins des agriculteurs pour alimenter ces processus et être assez courageux pour nous appuyer sur leurs solutions, leurs contributions, leurs propositions et leurs suggestions lorsque nous prenons des décisions. Nous, agriculteurs, nous sommes pragmatiques. Nous, agriculteurs, proposons des solutions et en même temps, nous plaidons pour des solutions pratiques. Un dernier point, nous prenons notre part dans la transformation des systèmes alimentaires et nous voulons continuer à amplifier ce mouvement. Nous sommes prêts à travailler en partenariat avec les autres acteurs des systèmes alimentaires pour partager la responsabilité de la transition. Nous sommes prêts à participer à une chaîne de valeur alimentaire, équitable, transparente, respectueuse des rôles et des responsabilités, avec une vision renouvelée Enfin, de collaborer au lieu de décisions descendantes, de responsabilités partagées au lieu de cadres imposés aux agriculteurs, et d'adapter l'innovation et la technologie qui permettent aux agriculteurs d'être plus performants et non une innovation qui nous rendrait esclaves. Si telle est la vision du processus, alors nous sommes tous agriculteurs dans la partie.
Thank you very much, Arnold. And we know, but you made it quite clear, transformation of our food systems is starting with the farmers. And only if we give them the means to do so, we'll get it done. And it means also that they're not only part of the solution for food systems, but also for climate change. Because climate smart agriculture, I'm also co-chair of the Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture, is crucial to that extent. I give the floor now, thank you so much, I give the floor now to Michael Keller, CEO of the International Seed Federation, as well as CEO of the International Agri-Food Network. Michael, you have the floor.
Thank you. Dear Chair, Your Excellencies, Your Ministers. First of all, thank you so much for, let's say it like, inclusive approach of the whole Food System Summit. I think the most important thing what we have here is we are here because we all want to co-create things. We all know that we cannot do it alone. And I think this is the starting point. And let me just thank the whole private sector was present here during the last 3 days. We were nearly 100 present. And when you're looking, the representativity of the private sector is very important to take into account, because when we are thinking also stock taking, because stock taking is also to be even more inclusive. I'm representing the International Agri-Food Network, and I'm representing also the private sector mechanism at the Committee on Food Security. And within the International Agri-Food Network, what is important to understand also, this is a network of 20 international associations, but representing the whole value chain, the whole private sector, with thousands of companies. And when I'm saying this, it's also the SMEs. And I think we clearly need to think also how we can involve in all these processes even more in the future the SMEs. Because 90% of all companies are SMEs, and 50% of the whole food production is coming from these SMEs. So having said this, I think we are all here for this food systems approach, and we know we are all here also to achieve the SDGs. 11 SDGs are depending on foods or related to foods. And I would like to take here a clear stand also from the private sector, because I think we need to say all starts with the farmers. Because I think also in all our whole food systems transformation discussion, it starts with the transformation of the agricultural system. That means it starts with the farmers. And therefore, it is so critical that we are thinking, here we are at the stock taking, what can we do for the next years? And I think we need also to be clear, we have national pathways. And I would like to thank also in the name of the private sector, all the national pathways existing. And I think we heard 120 and 101 are in place today. What is it about? Is it about to build an inclusive way of co-creation? It's optimization of resources. We all know money is limited. Also public money is limited, but also private money is limited. That means what we need is to think how we can optimize what we are yet doing today. And we need to build traction. That means we need to build perhaps also a thinking yet for the next Food Systems Summit, that we can think about these national pathways are critical to put the things together. But I think we need also to learn what went well and what didn't work well, where we were able to build into the whole private sector in the different pathways. The private sector is here to build win-win situations. And the private sector is saying, yes, we know there are challenges. We all know the challenges to achieve SDGs and all the challenges related to climate change. I think we should change the narrative. It's about opportunities. We all should see this as an opportunity. And as an opportunity to build a win-win situation, to make a win situation for farmers, make a win situation for business, but to make a win situation that we achieve together the SDGs. It's about cross-cutting. That means my last word is about the private sector is here to really assist also national pathways in developing models. And I think perhaps we should think about joint methodologies. The private sector is here to support also capacity building. We have capacity building. Also, we have expertise. It's here about knowledge sharing, but it's here, and you mentioned science and innovation. I think science and innovation is absolutely critical. We know the problems of today we cannot solve with the solutions of yesterday. They can support, but it's not enough. It's a reality. We like it or we don't like it. That means we need to think how we can, public sector, private sector, together scale up innovation also for all farmers, because too many smallholder farmers today have not access to any innovation or to any technology. Not saying here all these are the only solutions, but at least that we can build the right choice also at the national level. I think that's the call from our side. We are happy to continue to contribute as the private sector. And again, we are not here to say we can do it alone. We are here to support national governments. We are here to support the farmers. We are here to work also together with the communities on the ground. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael Keller. And the focus, of course, has to be implementation, not at the global level, but at the country level. There we have to create the business cases to get it done. Now I give the floor, and it's my real pleasure to give the floor to Vital Bambanse, Indigenous People Organizations of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous People. And Indigenous people are everywhere and are mentioned in every event we have. The floor is yours, sirs.
Merci, monsieur le modérateur de la session. Comme je viens de le dire, moi, je suis Vital Bambanse, je suis peuple autochtone du Burundi, les Batois, mais je suis ici en tant que membre de l'instance permanente des Nations Unies sur les questions autochtones. Je représente donc les 16 experts, 8 nommés par les États et 8 nommés par les organisations des peuples autochtones provenant de cette région socio-culturelle que nous reconnaissons au sein du système des Nations Unies en tant qu'instance des Nations Unies. Je m'excuse, j'ai été un peu en retard parce que j'étais dans un autre panel et comme nous, les peuples autochtones, participons avec un petit nombre, nous devons nous partager en plusieurs morceaux pour que nous puissions nous faire entendre, parce que souvent, les peuples autochtones ne sont pas visibles, ne sont pas bien représentés. C'est dans ce sens-là que je dois parcourir de session à l'autre pour que nous puissions nous faire entendre. Pourquoi nous devons nous faire entendre? C'est parce que on a toujours vu que les questions des peuples autochtones, que ce soit au niveau du système des Nations Unies, que ce soit au niveau des États, on les traite à la dernière minute et on ne nous inclut pas à cause soit des marginalisations ou même des programmes qui sont élaborés ne concernent pas beaucoup plus tout le monde. C'est depuis 2021 qu'au sommet des Nations Unies sur le système alimentaire, nous, les peuples autochtones, avons pensé à créer notre coalition sur le système alimentaire des peuples autochtones et grâce à ces efforts conjoints de certains États, donc cet État au niveau mondial ont accepté que nous puissions nous joindre à eux et créer une coalition spéciale sur le système alimentaire des peuples autochtones. Cette coalition a deux objectifs. Le premier est de garantir le respect, la reconnaissance et la protection et le renforcement du système alimentaire des peuples autochtones à travers le monde. Le second est d'assurer la diffusion des connaissances traditionnelles et bonnes pratiques du système alimentaire des peuples autochtones pour aider à transformer le système alimentaire mondial. Parce que nous reconnaissons que les aliments du moins industriels, on a entendu les agriculteurs, on a entendu les autres intervenants du secteur privé, nous sommes beaucoup plus préoccupés par les aliments avec l'utilisation des engrais chimiques qui font non seulement contaminer nos aliments, mais aussi fait en notre terre des problèmes pour une production agricole appropriée. Donc cette coalition a une importance capitale pour nous dans l'instance permanente des Nations Unies sur les questions autochtones. Et nous reconnaissons certains efforts qui ont été déjà consentis. Et, par exemple, nous avons été frappés par le discours de Son Excellence Antonio Guterres, Son Excellence, le secrétaire général des Nations Unies, qui, pendant l'ouverture de la 22e session de l'instance permanente, a rappelé qu'il faut se baser sur la connaissance des peuples autochtones et aussi promouvoir les connaissances et les droits des peuples autochtones dans tout le système des Nations Unies. Et c'est pour nous un plaisir d'être, par exemple, invités ici pour prendre la parole et nous adresser à cette auguste assemblée et parler de ce que nous ressentons dans le système dans le système alimentaire mondial. C'est ce que nous voulons en tant que coalition. Donc, cet espace de l'ONU offre, à ma connaissance, un espace de travail et d'action concertée entre les peuples autochtones, les États et ce système des Nations Unies que vous représentez ici et les États que vous représentez en tant qu'ambassadeur ou autre intervenant ou secteur privé. Nous saluons déjà les efforts des États qui se sont joués à nous pour la coalition et nous pouvons citer ici le Canada, l'Espagne, la Finlande, le Mexique, la Nouvelle-Zélande, la Norvège et la République dominicaine. Et nous saluons aussi ces autres États qui sont en train de nous rejoindre, notamment la Costa Rica, et les intérêts qui portent à nous. Et nous souhaitons la bienvenue au Brésil et aux autres États qui ont la volonté de nous rejoindre. Et nous invitons les États africains à rejoindre la coalition et les États asiatiques parce qu'à ma connaissance, jusqu'ici, il n'y a pas un État africain ou asiatique qui aurait encore rejoint la coalition. Et nous voulons non seulement travailler sur les connaissances traditionnelles, mais nous voulons que nos connaissances traditionnelles soient aussi associées aux connaissances scientifiques, parce que nous avons vu qu'on a parlé de changement climatique, on a parlé de la crise mondiale sur l'alimentation, mais nous avons remarqué que les connaissances traditionnelles au niveau de l'exploitation des forêts, la protection des forêts ou bien l'utilisation des connaissances traditionnelles sont des éléments moteurs pour l'atténuation des impacts du changement climatique. Et alors, avec le changement climatique, on ne peut pas ne pas savoir que aussi le système alimentaire est attaqué d'une façon mondiale. Je vois que le modérateur est en train de me rappeler qu'il est temps de m'arrêter. Mais nous voudrions aussi appeler les différentes parties prenantes à intégrer les questions des jeunes, les femmes et les peuples à besoins spécifiques, notamment les personnes vivant avec handicap, pour que justement ce système soit une rencontre pour tout le monde, pour justement parler de l'ODD qui parle de nous laisser personne derrière. Je vous remercie, monsieur le modérateur.
Merci beaucoup, Mr. Bambaza, and I applaud your coalition, because we need the coalition of indigenous people in all the work we are doing. Let's give a big hand to all the panelists. Thank you. As we said, and I said in the beginning, this session is about our journey to the SDG summit in New York. And it's of course, although we would like that the focus would be only on food systems, it's about much more, the SDG summit, the relationship with the SDGs. So in that respect, I would like to give now two ministers the floor, besides our host, two ministers the floor to give that broader perspective. So I first give the floor to Minister Fernanda Machiavelli, Minister for Rural Development and Family Farming of Brazil. Madam, you have the floor.
So, dear Ministers of States, my fellow deputy ministers, dear participants, it's an honor to be here representing Brazil in this important dialogue. When you gather at the Summit of the Future in 2024, Brazil will be leading the G20 and will be celebrating 20 years of the voluntary guidelines for the progressive realization of the human rights to adequate food. In 2025, as we move towards the 10th anniversary of the Sustainable Development Goals, Brazil will host the COP25 in Belém, in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. By highlighting the sequence of events, I insist on starting with the right to food, because it summarizes the centrality of the fight against hunger and inequality in President Lula's government, and the way in which this will guide our efforts on the international arena. By advancing social inclusion measures and strengthening family farming, the Brazilian government was able to lift almost 40 million people out of hunger. 10 years later, we have 16 million people with severe food insecurity in Brazil again. The situation in the countryside is even worse. 22% of the rural population is starving. This is a perverse contradiction for one of the world's leading food producers. Nutritional data in Brazil are not encouraging either. A 46% increase in the share of ultra-processed foods in our diet. Within the framework of the right to healthy food, this stock-taking moment on food systems allow us to recover the main messages of the SDGs, that is, the fight against inequalities. It motivates us to move away from a sectorial model towards a more integrated vision of development. Combating inequalities is at the heart of the 2030 Agenda. According to the World Bank, investment in agriculture can increase income and improve food security for 80% of the world's poor. FAO tells us that we have more than 600 million smallholders or family farmers. Small-scale production is also prevalent among 70% of arable land in the world. So, we need to give more support and visibility to family farmers, rural women and youth, traditional communities and indigenous peoples who engage in sustainable food production. To face these challenges, Brazil has resumed the coordination of food security policy, such as Food Acquisition Program, the National School Feeding Program, the National Policy for Agroecology and Organic Production, the Family Farming Strengthening Program, the Productive Microcredit Program, the More Food Program, Rural Women's Productive Organization Program, and Bolsa Familia. Aligned with the fight against hunger, we have directed guidance to implement actions to combat climate change in all areas. It's our government commitment to reverse the process of deforestation until we achieve zero deforestation in Amazon. In the new harvest plan, low-carbon agriculture, agroecological transition, and socio-biodiversity products are now strongly promoted with public investments. Our government is also preparing a large ecological transition program which involves the energy transition to the bioeconomy and green economy strategy. We will continue the effort to mobilize the debate and resources, both in Brazil and international forums, to make food systems even more sustainable, healthy, and inclusive. And our experience in Brazil is clear. This transformation needs to center on strengthening the resilience of family farming because that is what guarantees income and food in the vast majority of countries. With the integration of the food security policy, agricultural policy, and environmental policy, we will be able to advance towards achieving the SDGs as well as the goals of the Paris Agreement and the Global Framework for Biodiversity. And the 23 Agenda is back at the heart of Brazil's development strategy. And Brazil is back to contribute to the world in transforming our agro-food systems. We are working hard, and very soon we'll be celebrating that no one is starving in Brazil anymore. Let's walk together without leaving anyone behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Machiavelli, and thank you for the great work you are doing in Brazil and in your region. We turn now to the Minister of Agriculture of Albania, Frida Trivka. May I ask him to come to the floor? And we are old friends because you chaired the regional FAO conference in your country. Thank you. Great to have you here.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Commissioner, I have followed with great interest the work of these 3 days of the summit and would like to thank the FAO for hosting this panel and inviting me to address it. During the first day, invited on a panel organized by the Italian Minister of Agriculture, Lollobrigida, on the Mediterranean diet, I quoted something from Brodel, the French historian, which I would like to bring to this session as well, because of its actually relevance. Events are the ephemera of history. They pass across its stage like fireflies, hardly glimpsed before they settle back into the dark. But however brief, every event sure must make a contribution and light up a dark corner. These 3 days made very clear through all the speeches and positions of governments and institutions that on the sessions, as well as off the sessions, that the challenges are all common to all. That the food systems and the people creating them are interconnected. The market disruptions caused by a conflict of war affect large and small, and there is no one winning. We have diagnosed the issues. We now know what concrete actions and decisions must be taken. And these decisions from the highest decision makers of the food world actually can be made right here. I believe that the 3 days of this summit have served well to shed the right light into these actions that must be taken towards building food systems that are more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. The world has witnessed unprecedented challenges in terms of food security, environmental degradation, market disruptions, and social inequalities. The small country of Albania, with a big agriculture sector in terms of employment and impact in the GDP, during these relatively fragile 30 years of democracy, coming out of the most absurd totalitarian system, has faced the vulnerabilities in the food system by working consistently, by showing a great desire to build and rebuild, taking advantage of our rich lands, of our rich water sources, our rich biodiversity, the wonderful Mediterranean climate with 300 solar days, 100 sunny days a year, the willingness, the perseverance, and the persistence of our farmers to put the hard work and invest in maintaining traditions alive, ensuring the future generations of our lands, driven by a clear policy of development, strongly supported by our partners, the European Union and the FAO. A clear model has been created based on farm knowledge, based on innovation, based on farm diversification, based on market access that enhances short value chains and focuses on high quality of agricultural products. This has made Albania become an important regional and European exporter of fresh fruits and vegetables, olive oil, medicinal herbs, and fisheries. A devastating earthquake in 2019 and then COVID-19 pandemic further highlighted, however, the urgent need for transformative actions. In Albania, we strive every day to recover and to rebuild, to transform the deficiencies of inherited agricultural structural changes and seize opportunities to accelerate our progress towards European membership and sustainable development goals, to create a future that is both prosperous and sustainable for our communities. Our commitment to the SDGs is solid, and we firmly believe that the integration of sustainable food systems considerations is not just a choice, but a necessity for a better and more resilient sector. We focus on diversifying our economy and encourage the development of multiple sectors related to food systems, tourism, manufacturing services, and technology that serve as magnet to attract the young generation in the sector itself. A diversified economy is less susceptible to external shocks and can generate sustainable growth. We continue to implement and invest in our strategy for connecting agriculture with tourism as a possibility to diversify the economic activities on the rural areas, to provide a decent and rewarding work for the young generation, and to integrate small farmers on the markets in order to reinforce the economic sustainability in these rural areas. They have to be more and more interconnected with the urban areas, and on that regard, we have to keep investing in rural infrastructure, investing in modern infrastructure, including transportation, energy, and telecommunication, to enhance connectivity and attract investments. The future of the rural areas and other sustainable development should pass through education, through knowledge transfer, and through skills development. The production and economic sustainability, as well as the increase of food availability for our societies, is closely related with the application of updated knowledge and skilled workers in the rural areas. More agricultural products and less land surface, water, and other agricultural inputs are expecting on us. So now we have to produce more with less. More food with less waste and environmental impact, etc. So it's compulsory for us to find new and innovative ways for the future through innovation, digitalization, and technology. As the Minister of Agriculture of Albania, I am proud to share that Albania is already taking concrete steps towards this integration. We are actively working towards developing policies and strategies that promote these sustainable agricultural practices, support the small-scale farmers, and foster even more resilient food supply chains. Our focus is on enhancing productivity while safeguarding natural resources and biodiversity. As we work together toward the SDG summit, the summit of the future, let us be driven by a collective determination to leave a positive and lasting impact on the planet and its people. Thank you, and I look forward to concrete actions that will help shape a more sustainable future for us all.
Thank you very much, Minister Kritka. You are showing us the way how you can transform your food systems and much more under very difficult circumstances. Thank you so much for your positive message. And now I turn the floor, and it's more than a pleasure to turn the floor to the Minister or the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Italy, Mr. Armando Cirielli. I'll give him already a big hand for the beautiful and great hosting of this conference in a wonderful way.
Thank you very much. Grazie veramente, cari colleghi ministri, gentili ospiti e delegati. Ci troviamo nell'ultima giornata di questo cruciale vertice delle Nazioni Unite su questi sistemi alimentari che hanno rappresentato una sfida globale per il mondo intero. Non è un caso che l'ultimo evento prima della sessione di chiusura sia dedicato alla tematica del progresso verso gli obiettivi di sviluppo sostenibile. Nel ruolo di paese ospitante del vertice, l'Italia si è posta come obiettivo la promozione di un nuovo slancio per il raggiungimento dell'Agenda 2030, come evidenziato dal Ministro Tajani nel suo discorso di apertura. Tale ambizione non è raggiungibile se non tramite l'identificazione di concreti seguiti a questo vertice. Nello specifico, l'Italia può e vuole dare un apporto cruciale per affrontare l'insicurezza alimentare e promuovere la trasformazione dei sistemi alimentari in chiave sostenibile. Da sempre queste sono le due aree prioritarie per la nostra politica estera, per il Sud globale. Vantando una filiera agroalimentare ricca e organizzata con una tradizione antichissima, intendiamo investire nel campo della ricerca ancora di più e condividere le nostre migliori buone pratiche, rendendoci protagonisti, come è giusto per la responsabilità che abbiamo, nello sforzo della comunità internazionale per il raggiungimento della sicurezza alimentare. In questo quadro abbiamo inteso realizzare un nuovo polo tecnologico agroalimentare nella città di Napoli, quindi nel sud di Napoli, investendo per la sua iniziale realizzazione 320 milioni di euro. Il suo nome sarà Agritech. Questo sarà un centro di eccellenza che potrà essere un punto di riferimento scientifico per tutta l'area del Mediterraneo e per i paesi in via di sviluppo che ne vorranno usufruire anche con loro studenti. Abbiamo visto nel corso di questo vertice come la trasformazione dei sistemi alimentari sia necessariamente frutto di un lavoro multidimensionale che passa chiaramente nel confronto con il cambiamento climatico e per la sua mitigazione, chiaramente. Per questa ragione siamo intenzionati a dare un contributo importante. L'Italia ha stanziato nei prossimi 5 anni oltre 4 miliardi di euro per un fondo clima per sostenere i paesi in via di sviluppo che intendono portare avanti una transizione verde. La decisione di coorganizzare insieme agli Emirati Arabi una sessione di alto livello sui sistemi alimentari e l'azione climatica che si è tenuta il 24 luglio risponde proprio a questa nostra necessità, nostra intenzione. Questo partenariato fruttuoso emerso durante la sessione sul clima proseguirà nel corso dei prossimi importanti appuntamenti che ci aspettano e in particolare nel corso di un evento specifico che sarà dedicato a perseguire questo dialogo ai margini della COP28. Il tema della sicurezza alimentare sarà anche una delle nostre priorità nella partecipazione al vertice sugli obiettivi di sviluppo sostenibile che si terrà durante la settimana ministeriale dell'Assemblea Generale delle Nazioni Unite in settembre. Nelle discussioni di questi giorni è emerso chiaramente che la trasformazione dei sistemi alimentari verso una maggiore equità, sostenibilità e resilienza è fondamentale proprio per raggiungere gli SDG, gli obiettivi di sviluppo sostenibile. La sicurezza alimentare sarà una priorità anche durante la presidenza italiana del G7 nel 2024. Il nostro impegno è quello di coinvolgere i nostri partner del G7 insieme alla FAO e le altre organizzazioni del polo alimentare per portare avanti un progetto di trasformazione mondiale in tal senso. Ovviamente questa azione concreta l'Italia la sta già portando avanti e lo ha fatto concretamente lanciando negli ultimi 2 anni un dialogo nel Mediterraneo per rispondere alla crisi alimentare, soprattutto quella provocata nel nostro mare dalla guerra contro l'Ucraina da parte della Russia. Abbiamo già svolto 2 missioni importanti sulla sicurezza alimentare in Egitto e in Albania, insieme alla ministra dell'Albania dell'Agricoltura, e ne abbiamo già 2 in cantiere in Tunisia e in Kenya. Il primo vertice sui sistemi alimentari, che è stato promosso dalle Nazioni Unite nel 2021, ha lanciato un forte appello nei confronti della comunità internazionale. A 2 anni di distanza abbiamo discusso insieme di ogni passo in avanti e la trasformazione che è in atto, e soprattutto per le azioni che si rendono necessarie. Lasciatemi sottolineare che il successo dei nostri intenti dipende non solo dalla volontà politica degli Stati, che oggi è stata confermata, ma anche dall'apporto concreto che una miriade di attori della società civile, del settore privato, della ricerca, delle banche sarà in grado di offrire. Sarà necessario un ulteriore sforzo di coordinamento all'interno del quale l'Italia è pronta a fare la sua parte e pronta a assumersi la sua responsabilità. Grazie ancora.
Thank you very much, Minister Cirielli, for your excellent statement, but moreover, for hosting, as I said before, for hosting this summit. But already hosting for decades the 3 Rome-based agencies, the food hub of the world. We are so proud to be with you here in Rome, and we hope to stay here for many, many decades. Thank you so much. Now, because the time is running, and of course we have to go to our closing event, I give the floor to 4 interventions from the floor. But may I ask you to be very brief so that we can finish this session on time to prepare for the closing session. So I first give the floor to Cambodia. And please, could you make your statement in 2.5 minutes? Cambodia.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia, I would like to thank the government of the Italian Republic for hosting this important UNFSS+2 summit. Thanks to peace and political stability, Cambodia is utilizing food system transformation to accelerate the Cambodia's sustainable development goals, and is pleased to report strong actions to support ongoing social and economic development for the nation and people's well-being. Samdech Techo Hun Sen, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia, has urged all stakeholders in relevant sectors to collaborate with the Council for Agricultural and Rural Development by stepping up our joint efforts to implement the priority action plans in the National Strategy for Food Security and Nutrition, the Cambodia's Roadmap for Food System for Sustainable Development 2030, the Roadmap for Global Action Plan on Child Wasting, the Scaling Up Nutrition Movement, the Nutrition for Growth Plan, for growth commitment towards achieving the SDGs, especially SDG 2. Cambodia's agricultural sector is repositioning itself as a more sustainable, diversified, and modernized sector capable of providing stability in food supply, ensuring food security, improved livelihoods of people, and profitable opportunity for value adding and trade. In the health sector, we are strengthening evidence generation, service delivery, and reporting for nutrition services and outcomes at all levels, with increased expenditure for the treatment and prevention of severe acute malnutrition to drive down child wasting and continuing to reduce child stunting. Cambodia is using social protection program to promote the well-being of mothers, to address child malnutrition and promote physical and mental development. The government has doubled the amount of cash provided under the social assistance program to support pregnant women and young children, introduce improved maternity leave conditions, and adopted homegrown school feeding. We promote action incorporating food system into global, regional, national, and sub-national planning and coordination processes, adherence to the national climate commitment, and expanding our thinking to address the linkages between food system, climate, energy, and biodiversity loss. Cambodia remains priority for food system transformation for the next 2 years, And for action at scale include driving down child wasting, linking national and subnational efforts, closing the gender gap and promoting sustainable and inclusive development, generating evidence for decision-making, and identifying relevant food system intervention, prioritizing, monitoring, and evaluating the impact of intervention for food system, developing the tools, and demonstrating the capability for transformative action for food system in Cambodia. And I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Cambodia, also for obeying the time limit. I now turn the floor to Thailand, and let's follow the example of Cambodia. Thailand, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to discuss with you the way forward to COP28, the SDG Summit, the Summit of the Future and the 2025 Food System Stocktaking. This milestone plays a crucial role in our ongoing efforts towards sustainable development. I am pleased to highlight some noteworthy ongoing action that Thailand has undertaken. The UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework Thailand 2022 to 2026 was adopted in November 2021. This is an agreed document between the UN country team and the government of Thailand for key strategy collaboration to achieve the SDGs. Our 5-year plan, the 13th National Social and Economic Development Plan 2023 through 2027, aim to transform the country into a progressive society with sustainable value creation economy. As national convener, we will work closely with our partners and stakeholders to identify mutual goals that can be integrated actions. Thailand is among the most vulnerable countries impacted by climate change. It is imperative that we identify and implement climate action soonest. We need to be part of the carbon neutrality commitment. Science, technology, and innovation play an important role in climate adaptation and food security risk assessment, risk and management. The co-benefit comes with integrated effort and cost sharing. Digitalization in the agriculture and food system need more focus on smallholders. There are some gaps in capacity building for smallholders to fully benefit from the services. Finance and investment are needed for the agri-food system. Both public and private investment are equally important. Most importantly, we need to involve the vulnerable not because they are beneficiary, but because they are agents of change. Our choice today will shape the future of our food system and agriculture. Let us unite in the collective endeavor, embracing innovation, collaboration, and sustainability for a brighter future. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thailand. I now turn the floor to Ireland. Ireland, you have the floor.
Excellencies, colleagues, friends, as noted this September, the UN SDG Summit marks the midpoint of the 2030 Agenda. This is an opportunity to take stock on progress on the implementation of the agenda and to regain momentum. It's a moment also to provide high-level political guidance on transformative and accelerated actions towards the achievement of the goals. World leaders will come together to reflect on achievements, challenges, and opportunities while facing new and emerging crises. The SDG Summit must give a clear statement of direction, both politically and operationally, in a true spirit of partnership. This is necessary in order to show that the future, envisaged in the 2030 Agenda, is one that we are determined to create and to nourish. Ireland and Qatar have been working in an open, transparent, and inclusive manner as co-facilitators for the negotiations on the political direction of the 2023 SDG Summit. We're working in partnership with all sectors of society, including the United Nations, UN member states, civil society, young people, academia, and the private sector. Throughout this process, we've been guided by the international community to deliver a declaration which is clear and concise, action-oriented, inspirational, visionary, and ambitious. It should contain high-level transformative recommendations that speak to people within and without the UN. A strong political outcome can reaffirm the importance of multilateralism and the central role it must play in finding solutions to the challenges which our world is facing. Most relevant for this stock-taking moment is the importance of ending hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition, as well as promoting more sustainable and resilient agricultural and food systems, all of which are reflected in the SDG Summit Political Declaration. Ireland's experience is that food systems transformation is not easy. Difficult discussions are required, but this underscores the vital importance of collaboration and partnership with all stakeholders to make meaningful progress. We wish you all every success in taking forward the recommendations and outcomes of this stock-taking, as we look forward to meeting again in 2 years' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ireland, for your strong statement. I now turn the floor to Palestine. Palestine, you have the floor.
Hello. I'd like to thank you to give me the opportunity again today. This is really a great pleasure. And I would like to emphasize about the importance of this summit to the whole world, and especially to those countries that face challenges like Palestine, which is unique than any other country. So I would like to draw attention to the importance of supporting Palestine with the support that fit the needs of people that are suffering from lots of problems. And of course, you all know about it. So, of course, you know, we have the food insecure, more than a third of the countries, with women and young about 40%. And of course, you know, the water in Gaza is undrinkable, and this is other challenge for the agriculture and for the economy. So please take this into consideration, and I do highly appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Palestine. And as a last intervention, I give the floor to Turkey. Turkey, you have the floor. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our food systems have been affected from the multiple crises that affected the world. Besides this, especially with the two devastating earthquakes struck Turkey and affected 11 provinces on 6 February. In the terms of agriculture, the region is critical for agriculture production, the food industry and agricultural livelihoods. The earthquake region accounts almost 15% of Turkey's total agricultural GDP. That's why, in this sense, recovery and reconstruction efforts in agriculture are crucial to revive economic activities across the sector. Our response to damage of the earthquakes began immediately and in line with our responsibilities. We took action with all relevant units to take necessary measures in the field for ensuring the sustainability in agriculture production. We appreciate for all efforts, all the supports of during this period. However, we should take concrete action in order to recover agriculture sector and food chains in the region. The support to be provided by EU and all stakeholders will strengthen the government's efforts for responding to humanitarian and sectoral needs of the affected region. We believe that in collaboration with the UN, we can develop joint works supporting the implementation areas of the national pathway. Investment strategy in the framework of joint SDG fund window could play an important role in contributing our food system transformation priorities through directing financial resources under the thematic action areas. We think that UN SDG joint ones will accelerate the realization of strategic priorities of their national pathways. We acknowledge that the main emphasis of the UN joint SDG funds window will be on the funding major joint programs that could have significant effects on achieving targets under 5 action tracks. We believe that the window's funding rounds will also consider the results of the voluntary country stock-taking exercise. In collaboration with national and international stakeholders, we will focus on developing joint projects with UN, academia, NGOs, etc., covering the implementation areas of the national pathway, such as preparing financing strategy, mechanism, investment plan, developing and communication, and these mapping of the existing national policies, strategies with national pathway will be another focus area. Measurement, monitoring, and reduction activities of the greenhouse emissions originating from agricultural activities and R&D projects for low carbon agriculture will be expanded. Measures will be developed to prevent land degradation and erosion caused by climate change in agricultural lands and pastures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Turkey. We're almost there, at least for this session. And of course, it's not only that we are 3 days working on food security and food systems. We have also the Committee on Food Security. It's my pleasure to give the floor to Gabriel Ferrero de Loma. He's the chair, the current chair of the Committee for Food Security. And hopefully you can do it in around 4 or 5 minutes.
Gracias, querido Hans. Excelencias, señoras y señores, como presidente del Comité de Seguridad Alimentaria Mundial de las Naciones Unidas y también en nombre de sus 137 Estados miembros y las múltiples partes interesadas que lo conforman, me complace enormemente dirigirme a ustedes en esta sesión, en esta parte final de la sesión. Y permítanme felicitar, por supuesto, comenzar felicitando al secretario general y a todo su equipo por el éxito de este momento, dando las gracias a la vicesecretaria general, Amina Mohamed, y al director del Hub de Coordinación, Stefanos Fatui, por dar la oportunidad al presidente del Comité de Seguridad Alimentaria Mundial de dirigirme a todos ustedes. Este es el mensaje que yo me llevo, que excelencias. Debemos integrar, conectar y construir sobre nuestros principios compartidos para una transición justa. En primer lugar, integrar. Estos días hemos sido testigos de una energía positiva, inspiradora, de un impulso enorme hacia la transformación de los sistemas alimentarios. También hemos reconocido que nos enfrentamos a retos extremadamente difíciles, exacerbados por la invasión de Ucrania, a una crisis multidimensional del coste de la vida, del desarrollo humano, a una emergencia climática, a un aumento del hambre y la malnutrición. Hemos reconocido también que hacer frente a las crisis actuales y transformar los sistemas alimentarios no son cosas independientes, no son cosas desconectadas, son dos caras de la misma moneda. Que necesitamos acelerar la transformación a través de las respuestas a estas crisis, en lugar de posponerla. Que las respuestas políticas, la financiación y las inversiones deben estar integradas. Que el hambre cero, a través de la transformación de los sistemas alimentarios, requiere más recursos, pero también la reorientación de los recursos actuales hacia esta transformación. Y que particularmente la financiación de los sistemas alimentarios sostenibles y del clima son las dos caras de la misma moneda y que es especialmente importante para una transformación justa que los pequeños o agricultores a pequeña escala, las agricultoras familiares, especialmente las mujeres, la agricultura familiar, que provee el 70% de los alimentos que se consumen en el mundo, sean los principales y las principales beneficiarias de este apoyo. Segundo, conectar los procesos intergubernamentales. Las múltiples crisis y la urgencia de la transformación de los sistemas alimentarios, desde luego, están desencadenando múltiples y bienvenidas iniciativas y esfuerzos de todas las comunidades, de nuestros países, de los actores, a todos los niveles. Pero es imperativo que conectemos todos estos esfuerzos en su diversidad. Y particularmente es crucial que garanticemos que las respuestas y las soluciones se basen y se adapten a cada contexto, que reconozcamos la coexistencia de diversos sistemas alimentarios, de diversas realidades, dentro de nuestros países, entre nuestros territorios y, por supuesto, entre países. Y a nivel mundial es fundamental conectar el impulso que estamos viviendo hoy con todos los procesos que darán forma a nuestro futuro común. Todos, todas debemos comprometernos a llevar la transformación de los sistemas alimentarios inclusivos, justos, sostenibles, al corazón de la cumbre de los ODS en septiembre. También el año que viene, a la cumbre del futuro. Y también es crucial que esta transformación de los sistemas alimentarios sea central en la cumbre de financiación para el desarrollo sostenible en 2025, Addis Abeba +10. Pero también tenemos que asegurarnos que todos los espacios intergubernamentales temáticos están también considerando la transformación justa e inclusiva y sostenible de los sistemas alimentarios, particularmente las conferencias de las partes. Por ello, propondría celebrar anualmente una reunión de todos los presidentes y presidentas de los organismos, foros intergubernamentales que son clave en esta transformación, con el fin de coordinar las agendas. Reunirnos anualmente la presidencia de la Asamblea General de ECOSOC, las Asambleas Mundiales de Salud, del Medio Ambiente, del Hábitat, por supuesto las presidencias de las conferencias de las partes, del G20, del G7, para asegurarnos de que en el centro de las agendas se sitúa la transformación de los sistemas alimentarios. Y tercero, una transformación y una gobernanza de los sistemas alimentarios basada en los principios para esta transición justa. Unos principios que son los fundamentales de la Carta de las Naciones Unidas y donde el derecho a la alimentación es el marco general clave para todos nuestros esfuerzos. Porque los derechos de los agricultores y agricultoras a pequeña escala, de la agricultura familiar, de los pueblos indígenas, de los trabajadores, son los pilares y porque también son los agentes clave de esta transición si queremos que sea justa y equitativa hacia sistemas alimentarios sostenibles. Y aunque he terminado casi mi tiempo, quiero enfatizar el empoderamiento de las mujeres y de las niñas. Es una de las palancas más importantes en esta transformación. Y me complace enormemente que en el Comité de Seguridad Alimentaria Mundial hayamos logrado ya un acuerdo intergubernamental mundial sobre cómo empoderar a las mujeres y las niñas para la igualdad de género en el contexto de la seguridad alimentaria mundial. Queridos colegas, concluyendo, el Comité de Seguridad Alimentaria Mundial de las Naciones Unidas, que tengo el honor de presidir, acoge con gran satisfacción este impulso de la cumbre de los sistemas alimentarios a todos los niveles. Y hago un llamamiento para que se refuercen las capacidades necesarias para mantener este impulso, su seguimiento, el acompañamiento de los procesos que están liderando ustedes, que estamos liderando todos en nuestros países, y también la gobernanza del proceso. Siempre van a encontrar en el Comité de Seguridad Alimentaria Mundial un aliado en nuestros esfuerzos, un socio en el espacio intergubernamental complementario a los esfuerzos del Secretario General con la Cumbre de Sistemas Alimentarios, al servicio de la transformación de los sistemas alimentarios para que sean inclusivos, equitativos, sostenibles, de manera que sustenten la plena realización a una alimentación adecuada por todos y por todas en el mundo. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. Our narrative is clear. We have paved now the road to New York, to the SDG Summit, the Summit for the Future. We know what we have to do for transforming our food systems. We know the actions. The only thing we have to do is to reform ourselves. And of course, we can say others have to reform, but we have to reform ourselves. Because only then we can live up to the call of the United Nations to massively invest in our transformation of food systems for those who need the most. Thank you so much for all those who contributed to this session. Thank you for participating. We are now going to break for half an hour to make the room ready for the closing session, also for the latest security measures, so that we have a safe conclusion of the 3 days of this summit. Thank you so much. See you in half an hour. Meeting adjourned.